Hello guys, I'm the maildartfrog and welcome to another episode of Scrap Mechanic. And in this video we're going to take a look at how the game looked like 2 years ago, back in 2016. More specifically the version 0.1.16. Right now we are at version 0.3.0, which is a whole lot of versions ahead. And yeah, you can see that the world is very nice looking and beautiful. It's Scrap Mechanic in 0.3.0. We have a lot of functional stuff. Most of it works as intended. And yeah, the game is getting better and better with time. So you can see we have a lot of tools, we have a lot of decorational stuff. All kinds of stuff we could wish for. We have the mod support, we have quite good optimization, it's getting better with time. And yeah, the dwarf looks nice, it has nice animations. And we have, yeah, you know, a lot of settings, for example for the thruster. Oh, that's not the thruster, that's the thruster. And yeah, you can see you can set it, but we didn't have it some time ago. We can also take a look at commands. We have only that many commands. We also have a very nice main menu. It looks nice stuff. We have a lot of options right here. For example, we have the create terrain option, where we have world builder and tile builder. So yeah, 0.3.0. Now let's switch to 0.1.16. Here we are in a completely different version right now. Okay, so as you can see, the main menu isn't as pretty as in 0.3.0. Here you can also see 2016 Axel games version 0.1.16. And yeah, we for example don't have the whole world builder thing. We still have two characters which aren't as pretty as you can see. Here's the female version. I don't think that we are missing anything from options except for the cam mode. We can load the game and we can create a new game, of course. And now it's very different than it is right now, because as you can see we of course have the world name, which we can set to whatever we want. We have only two modes because there's no world builder, and you can't choose more modes because there are no more modes. You have either flat or terrain. And you also have the private option where you can set the password. I have no idea if that worked because I didn't use Steam version of Scrap Mechanic back then, because I didn't have good enough PC. And yeah, but anyway, it got removed after some time, maybe because of changes to world saving system that Axel made. I have no idea about that, and I can't test it unfortunately because that's no Steam version of the game. Custom settings, that's something that we cannot see anymore nowadays. You can limit how many players are in the world, how many bearings are in the world, bearings per object, stuff like that. And it actually works because I tested it. So yeah, let's set for example 10 bearings per object and hit create. Now another thing to note, as the game loads, you can see at the bottom you have the tip. Did you know that if you put two toilet paper rolls on top of each other, it will become a paper towel roll? Well, back then there was only one tip, it was this one. Nowadays we have more tips, which are very nice stuff, very useful to new players in my opinion. For example, the paper towel roll was used by me a lot. Here, the game loaded, you can also see my very old nickname. Anyway, we still have the greeting in the new world. So yeah, right now you can probably see a lot of stuff is very different. The foliage looks different, the dirt looks different, everything looks different. You can see, for example, some weird reflexes on the handbook. That's because the game changed the engine. The engine got updated, so it looks and performs a lot better. You can also probably feel the lower FPS because the game was very poorly optimized back then relative to what it is right now. And yeah, right now at the bottom you can see that the icons are very different, same with the menu thing, like the inventory. And yeah, that's because of the new engine, I think. However, yeah, they have the whole icon generator thing. They probably also had it back then, but it's different right now. So yeah, you can see that the icons have different shader, I think. However, for sure they have like a different perspective. And yeah, they just look different. And also you can probably see that there aren't many things in the game comparing to what can you find in the game in 0.3.0. So we have only 4 tools, as you can see, including the handbook, which I think haven't changed at all. At least the functional part of it. It did change, like in the game, in the world, like right here, with the latest update. So yeah, it is different right now. So yeah, the hammer, let's take a look at the hammer. I have it right here. It got updated textures recently, but other than that, you can, for example, see that from the first person view you can only hit it from one side, and in the third person view you can hit it from both sides when you spam it. So that's like strange. And you can also block, but it doesn't do anything in first person, it only works in the third person. So yeah, now the lift. And you can also probably see that the shader for placing blocks is very different. It's very glowy and stuff. And yeah, the lift. You can of course elevate it up or down. It still does what it should, which is doing this, so it doesn't rotate until it puts it on the lift. But as you can see, the message on the lift is quite small. That's because there is no workshop support and there's no lift saving creations. So if you build a creation, you can't save it on the lift and spawn it again. And you can't remove creations with the lift. So yeah, right now I'm clicking on it, trying to interact with it, but nothing happens. Another thing to note is that there is only one hotbar. In 0.3.0 you have 3 hotbars which you can switch between, but in here you have only one. And I have to say that this triple hotbar thing, like at first when I saw it, I was like, I'm not gonna use it, it's probably going to be hard to get used to it. But right now, I have to say that it's hard not to use it. And for example right here, when I have only one, I really try to switch between those 3 still. Just a reflex in my hand. So yeah, that's a very nice thing in my opinion. As you can see, the texture for blocks changed a lot. It was one of the bigger features of one of the updates, not sure which one. And yeah, as you can see, for example, the concrete looks a lot different. It doesn't look at all like what it does right now. And the wood also looks differently. Like the idea of the wood texture is the same, but it's a lot different in here. Like it feels smoother in the new versions. Let's take a look at the things that changed graphically. For example, you can see that the wheels look different. The small wheel doesn't look a lot different, but the big wheel, it looks a whole lot different. It doesn't look at all at what it is right now. So yeah, like this one like always reminds me of like a tractor, no wheel. So yeah, I really like that wheel in fact. But yeah, I think the new one is better because it's more detailed and stuff. The light didn't like cast light, in fact. You could like see it glows right here, but it doesn't give any light out. So if you had like a room in the house in Scrap Mechanic, you placed that, it didn't do anything pretty much. As you can see, I can't interact with it in any way. So yeah, it was more of a thing just on cars, you know, to look like there's something shining on them. Dynamic lights are relatively new thing in fact, at least for me, because I'm quite an old player. For example, you can see that it's not appearing in the display options as well, or in the graphic options. Another thing to note is that you couldn't interact with some stuff as much as you can now. For example, you couldn't set how much does the thruster thrust. In fact, it had like one power and you had to stick with, you couldn't change it. And you had the sensor, so the sensor also couldn't change the range. You couldn't change the color setting on it because there was no color setting in fact. And you couldn't switch this sound off, which might be annoying for some people. And also the range setting is awesome in my opinion. Overall, all the settings and sensor are very useful. Speaking of thrusters, the particle that they had is totally different right now than it was. As you can see, it's very different. And also there's something about it that I really liked, which is that when you do that, it feels like the fire kind of bends, which I really like because it reminds me of like a gimbaling thruster, you know. And yeah, I miss that feature in fact. I don't think that the new thrusters in fact do it. But yeah, other than that, I think the particle of the thruster looks better right now. I mean, both have their own look, so in my opinion the best combination would be a part of the thruster in the old version and a part of the thruster in the new version. That would make for an awesome particle in my opinion. Another thing is that back then, if you want to place something on the bearing, it didn't turn green to signalize that you're attaching it to it. So yeah, for example, we didn't know if this is going to get attached to the bearing or to the wall. In this case, the electric engines behaved a bit more like controllers, because as you can see, if I do this and now I do this, it doesn't bend to the side in fact. And even if I place the thruster right here and try to fire it, yeah, as you can see, it doesn't move at all. Yet if I touch the engine to it, it does move. So if I change the rotation of the bearing, you can, for example, see how it works. It's not that the thruster is just so weak, because it just holds its position no matter what. And if you would try to attach like a lot of thrusters to it, it would start glitching out like a bearing. A lot of parts were missing. For example, as you can see, there's no toilet in this version. There is sink, but I will scroll slowly through it right now, and you can see that there is no toilet in here whatsoever. So yeah, if you wanted a toilet, you could build one out of this. And I actually did that in this version a long time ago. But anyway, there also weren't any logic gates, so it actually made a small problem for players, because if you wanted to make a door, for example, let's say I want to make a door right here, So I place down the bearing and the door itself, maybe a little window, and yeah, in 0.3.0 you would just do that, place the logic gate down, set it up, and you could make it open from both sides with a logic gate. However, in this version there were no logic gates, and as you probably know, you can't untouch two buttons to one controller. So what people did was placing a hole in here, putting a button right here, doing that, and it also acted as a door handle. How do I switch that? So right now, as you can see, I can open the doors from both sides and I don't have to worry about anything. Now let's take a look at the commands, because there are quite some commands in here. As you can see, we have the time command, which we have in the version 0.3.0, so I'm not going to show it to you. We have the set name command, which we don't have nowadays, so I'm going to use it. Maildartfrog YT. So, as you could see in the beginning, my name was Golden World because that's my very old username that I'm not using anymore. And yeah, as you can see now, my nickname is Dartfrog YouTube, and you can also color the name somehow, but I am not really sure how. Oh, so it works like that, huh? So yeah, I tried a little bit, but I have no idea how does the coloring thing work. For me it doesn't, I don't know, never mind. Anyway, moving on to another command. We have the reload command, which right now is changed to reload textures command, which is a thing in 0.3.0, so I'm not going to show it to you. We have a polygon mode command, which I really like in fact, but it's not in 0.3.0. What it does is it shows you the whole world in polygons, which means all faces of all models in the world are transparent. You can just see the edges. So it shows you, for example, how the terrain is modeled right there, or how the tools are modeled, or even the character. And for example, if you played on super flat world, at least for me it was useful, because once I lost a flying creation. It flew away somewhere into the distance, and yeah, without that thing I wouldn't find it, because when I turned this thing on I could see like a little dot somewhere far away, and I went to that dot and it was my creation. You can also see the skybox thing. On that you can see the sky texture normally. Type the command again to disable it. Next up we have the list textures command. What this does is it takes all the textures that you have in the game. Now I'm not sure if these are all the textures that the game is using, or if these are all the textures that are in the game files. However, we have 179 textures total, around half a gigabyte, and you can see all of them right here. Next up is the help command, but you know it, everyone knows it. You have the debug command, which is very useful. What it does is shows you a lot of useful information. Part of it is in 0.0. As you can see right here, we have stuff like loading terrain assets, loading script, something.lua. We got that part of it when the Lua scripting for modders became a thing, so modders can debug their own mods, but we don't have this useful part of it. And you can, for example, see the FPS. As I said before, the game is not stable and it runs on lower FPS. We have information, for example, if the mouse button is pressed and which one is pressed. We have how many triangles we do see in the world. That is, how many of those triangle things we saw in the polygon mode command are in the frame. We have some really not very interesting stuff. We have the character velocity, which is in fact very useful. For example, when you're walking, you can see it going up like that. Another interesting thing is the character position, which, as you can see, also changes when I'm walking or jumping. And yeah, it was very useful if you're playing with someone, because let's say you're playing, for example, for half an hour in a world, you're far away from spawn and your friend joins, you want to meet together in the world, and yeah, you just pick a coordinate and you meet there. Very useful in my opinion. Unfortunately, we don't have it anymore in the game. We also have the indication of where we are looking at, the aim direction thing at the very top. It can be useful for some people, I don't know how though. And again, and we switch the command off by just tapping it in again. As you can see, it disappeared. Next up is the crash the game command, which at first is in 1.3.0, I mean 0.3.0, and you can guess what it does, right? Okay, so the next command on the list is the WAD command, which I am not sure what it does. It does something, because for example, if you look at the crosshair, when I type WAD 3, 2, 1, it flashes like that. I have no idea why. It probably reloads something, but I'm not sure about it. So yeah, if you have any idea of what it does, remember to tell me about it in the comments or in my Discord. And as you can see, the bearing limit that we set before, in fact, works. The setting doesn't allow more bearings on the same object. Of course, if we cut this thing in half.
To show you the power of flex tape, I sawed this boat in half!
We can place 10 more bearings. Now we'll need some flex tape.
And repaired it with only flex tape.
That's gonna be it for this episode of Script Mechanic. I hope you liked the travel back in time to 2016 to 0.1.16. If you did, remember to leave thumbs up under the video, it really helps the channel a lot. Also subscribe for more content like this, and click the bell icon so you don't miss it. If you have any suggestions for me, leave them down in the comments or in my Discord, or in a private message. If you want me to, for example, make a challenge in this old version, for example build a car, I can do that, just tell me about it in the comments or somewhere else. If you think you know someone that might get interested with this video, remember to send them the link. I was the Dart Frog, see you in another video, bye!